what's up, guys? My name is Zack, and for the last 7 days, I've been driving the 2025 Buick Enclave Avenir. Up front is a 2.5-liter turbocharged inline-4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video because I've spent the last week and over 500 miles learning about and experiencing the new Enclave. This is completely new for the 2025 model year, and I think it's pretty good with a couple of short setbacks. So let's get into it today. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.5-liter turbo under the hood. Well, I don't like starting off on a bad foot, but honestly, the engine in this car is the worst part of the new Enclave. Buick does not offer a V6 in any of their models anymore, which is quite the fall from just back in the 80s offering mostly V8s to then V6s in the 90s and 2000s, but now they are only 4-cylinder. Although the engine itself makes 328 horsepower and 326 pound-feet of torque, it still feels like it has to really work and really struggle to pull this 3-row SUV along, and that's not what I want. It feels strained, and after hundreds of thousands of miles, I think it's going to take a toll on the little engine. Imagine a city bus powered by a hamster wheel. Or actually, in Japan, there was a bus that was powered by a 1.3-liter rotary engine. Yeah, imagine something like that. That's the case here with the Enclave. Like I said, paired to it though is an 8-speed automatic. I have found this very, very nice. It shifts very smooth, and I thought it was actually a CVT for a second because I couldn't hear it or feel it shifting. That is a very, very nice thing to feel. Last but not least about the drivetrain, this particular Enclave is all-wheel drive. However, you can spec them and find them with front-wheel drive if that's something that you want. How does it feel to drive the Buick Enclave? Well, the power isn't really there, even though it is in the 300s. This is a big, heavy vehicle. However, besides that, the ride quality is superb. It is fantastic. It's nice and quiet on the highways, and the overall experience, once you're up to speed, is what I want out of a Buick. It is a very, very Buick experience, and that has been lovely. And on my travels, I have averaged 23.2 miles to the gallon. Not stellar, not terrible, but again, that 4-cylinder does have to work pretty hard to move this big car. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, right off the bat, in front of me, you get this giant display. It sort of blends into the infotainment, so we'll talk about it in two sections, but directly in front of you, you do get your gauges, tachometer, fuel, day of the week, and whatever media you're listening to. This is also where some of your Super Cruise information will pop up, which we'll talk about in a second. At the time of recording, I complained about not having coolant temperature or a trip odometer in the gauge cluster. You actually can put it in the gauge cluster, but it's buried in the center screen, and then you have to hit send to gauge cluster. I don't know why this was so difficult and they buried it so deep. I spent 7 days with the car, and it was literally on the 7th night that I found this out.
Oh, that's so nice.
Leave that rodeo.
On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our cruise control options along with Super Cruise. So this does have the $3,730 option for GM's Super Cruise, which is hands-free driving. I'll have a completely separate video about my thoughts on that, but that is an option here in the new Enclave. Off to the right, we have our selectors for our radio favorites, phone options, and heated steering wheel. And up at the top, we do get our Super Cruise band. Off to the left, we get a climate control vent, power parking brake, drive mode, all-wheel drive, auto holding brake, auto start stop, and gauge dimmer switch. For our drive modes, we have snow and ice, off-road, tour, sport, and that's it. On the door, we do have our Bose Performance speaker, as well as 2 levels of memory seats, lock and unlock, power mirrors, and power windows. Moving into the center, we have that continued screen for the infotainment. I really like it. It is very, very clear. It has good refresh rate. However, when using Apple CarPlay, CarPlay, it sort of does this like odd square shape because Apple CarPlay is rectangular, but the shape of the screen isn't. It actually sort of is rounded. So it kind of looks like a picture-in-picture, which is kind of funny. Couple of things to note in here. This is where you'll find your heated and ventilated seats, which I don't love having to use the screen for that. You can also adjust the ambient lighting in here at night. You get plenty of different options for the ambient lighting, and I think it does add a really nice feel to the interior. We can take a look at our camera system. This does have a 360 camera, which is fantastic. Not every car at this price point has a 360 camera, and I'm happy to see that the Enclave does. However, I just don't like relying on the center screen for some of these more pivotal controls, like a camera button or like the heated seats. Down below that, we do have some physical climate controls for the dual zone temperature, as well as fan speed and defrost. 2 climate vents, USB-C and USB-A, and then the center console. Down below the center console, we do have a 12-volt outlet and another shelf, but up at the top, we have the volume knob, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and it doesn't really have any friends, which is a little depressing. Off to the right, we do have a wireless charger, which is nice, and it actually works with my phone. GM wireless chargers are nice, where Toyota ones don't actually work with my phone, so kind of interesting there. Then we have cup holders, so we'll do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 2025 Buick Enclave, and unfortunately, yet somewhat predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do get a center console with a tray in it, but that's pretty much it. And the seats. The seats are very comfortable. They are heated, ventilated, power, memory, and technically massaging. Now, this is going to be the biggest first world complaint, but this massage feature is not very good. It just kind of turns the lumbar on and off. And honestly, I had it on for 2 hours one day. Couldn't even tell you it was on. So, not to critique massaging seats, but it's far from the best that I've experienced. However, speaking of seats, we have 2 more rows of seating. The Enclave's claim to fame is its 3-row, so let's go talk about the back. All right, so we're in the 2nd row of the all-new Buick Enclave, and a couple of things to note. First of all, knee room great, headroom great. I'm 5'11", I'm not a small guy. This is a very adult 2nd row. What I mean by that is that you can fit adults back here. We could take this to a business meeting or lunch or things like that, and it's going to be good. I can actually sit back here and retain my dignity, which can't be said about all 3-row SUVs, which is very nice. 2 cup holders up front. We also have fan speed and temperature back here, and my own heated seat with 3 levels. So each seat gets 3 levels of heated seats. We also have 2 USB-Cs and a wall outlet. But overall, I also say that this is a very adult interior because we'll talk about the color later on in the final thoughts, but it's a very white interior. And so if you have kids, this is going to get scuffed up pretty quick. So if you do have kids, I would highly recommend getting the black interior. It's going to hide some of that dirt and grime, where the white kind of puts it on display. However, we got to try out the 3rd row. Unfortunately, unlike the past, it is a forward-facing 3rd row and not a rear-facing 3rd row like the Buick Roadmasters of the 90s, but that's okay. We'll still try it out. Okay, so I did have to move this seat up, as you probably noticed, just to fit back here. This is not a great 3rd row. If you need it, sure, it works. It has a 3rd row. I have USB-C chargers on either side, and I have vents up in the roof to point directly at my eyeballs or my bald spot, which is really nice. However, I wouldn't recommend this. Again, if you have a family, I can't stress this enough, buy a minivan. And Buick used to make a minivan. If you want to find a Buick Terraza, be my guest. They used to make minivans. Not anymore, but minivans have always had the best 3rd row. This isn't an amazing 3rd row, but it works. You know, if you have kids, you put them back here, but say goodbye to these pure white seats. Let's hop around the very back. We'll talk about the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Buick Enclave, button down here, power tailgate, which is very, very nice. And once we are back here, a couple of things to note. First of all, we do have power operations for the 2nd and 3rd row. However, the 3rd row is power back up, where the 2nd row isn't. We do get a 12-volt outlet back here as well. Nothing too crazy over there, but we do get, you have to pull this down, as you can see, and you get more storage down below, which is actually a pretty sizable amount, which is great. My issue with the stuff back here is the color. Again, if you get the black interior, this is going to be fine. But as you can see, this is going to get dirty in about 2.8 seconds after ownership. So It's a beautiful interior, gorgeous, but it might be a pain to keep clean. Then when we want to close it back up, little button here, it'll beep and close right back up. Nice, smooth, and quiet. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and as I mentioned, this is all new for the 2025 model year, and I think it's a relatively handsome SUV. I have felt proud of it walking out to the car every morning, seeing it in my driveway. I think it is pretty handsome. However, actually, there is no however. I don't know why I said that. It's a good-looking SUV. It does look good at night. Maybe that's what I was thinking. It does look good at night as well. I like the light signatures. And as my girlfriend pointed out, when you unlock the car, it turns on the interior lights as well. And she went, oh, that's great for if someone is camping out in your car trying to be creepy. And me, being a boy, I never considered that. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's actually really, really nice. So, something to note. Good looking out, Buick. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Buick Enclave from 2025? Well, it's been a really, really good experience. The engine is truly the only downside that I found. I was a little annoyed with the screen and all that stuff, but honestly, you get past it. It's a little nitpicky from me. The engine is the only downside. It does feel underpowered, and it is kind of loud. When I showed this car to my parents, my dad said, oh, that's loud. He's never said that about any of the other cars I've brought home. So I wish that they'd bring the V6 back. I don't think that's in the cards for Buick, so this might just be the new future, but that is my one critical complaint. Besides that, it's actually been a really, really nice week. The ride has been fantastic, and I've been using this a lot on the highway. Super Cruise is really, really good. To spoil my other video focusing on Super Cruise, it's very good. I have full faith in it. I feel safe with it, and that can't be said about all hands-free driving systems. I think it looks good, and this interior is wonderful. The blue on top, white on bottom, wood accents on the doors. I mean, this sort of spaced out star-looking cuts in the leather. This is a home run interior, and every single person I showed this car to said, wow, that's a good interior, but always followed with, I would hate to clean it. So, if you plan on getting the interior this color, which I would recommend, please also have your local detailer on speed dial, because it will get dirty very, very quickly. But I think it looks great, and it feels like a luxury car. And then rolled together, I know $65,000 is a lot of money. I'm not downplaying that in the slightest. But for what you get, and for its competition, I think this is a pretty good package for that price in the modern market. 65 really ain't bad by today's standards. I think you get a lot of car for it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Buick for loaning me this vehicle for the last 7 days. Shout out to Paige. Huge thank you to G Schmidt for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.